Today we are reading List of Arch Enemies, a dossier from the Seat of Divine Foresight recording various enemy forces opposed to the Xianzhou. Rune Scroll, Lord Ravager. List of Arch Enemies Rune Scroll contents. Lord Ravager, Doomsday Beast, Trampler, Void Ranger, Baryon, Anti-Baryon. Glossary Lord Ravager. Category: their identities are not fixed and are based on species of origin. Summary: a Lord Ravager is an emanator who oversees many divisions in the Antimatter Legion and is selected by the rune author Nanook. Despite the countless worlds, civilizations, and lives that Nanook has annihilated, they still leave a pathway open to delay the doomsday of some powerful victims who obey their will, or even step gleefully onto the path of destruction. Endowed with the powers of destruction, these creatures are twisted into dreadful Lord Ravagers. Rumor has it that Nanook has 7 overlords, each representing one of the 7 extremes of destruction, but so far we have yet to find any specific data on these 7 overlords. Alliance observational records, Corporation intelligence networks, there is barely any useful information out there on this. After all, there are no remnants by definition wherever destruction goes, and that includes information. At least 4 of the overlords remain a complete mystery and can only be distinguished by their affinity for destruction. Observational records. Zephyro. With a terrifying reputation as a one-man army, Zephyro is the most passionate overlord about violent destruction. Zephyro is obsessed with the raw power and beauty of things just as they burst open at the point of destruction. In year 6804 of the star calendar, the sun of New Bethlehem was ignited, scorching its planetary surface with huge amounts of radiation and instantly turning it into glass. In year 7143 of the star calendar, a huge cyclone was stirred up, smashing the ecosystem of Aedirn into smithereens. In year 7658 of the star calendar, the moon shield's outer shell was drilled straight through, launching an attack on the planet core that crushed the entire world. These acts of destruction nearly encapsulate Scorching Flare's extreme passion for doomsday scenarios. Potential threat to the Alliance? Very high. Selenova. Selenova is the frontline general for the rune author Nanook. For some reason defying logic, Selenova is Nanook's most frequently used general. Her troops spread throughout the cosmos, weaving a network of destruction between the stars. The Yao Qing and the Zhu Ming and the Fenghu ships all have records of fighting against Selenova's minions. Stella Roar is also the only emanator of destruction to board a Xianzhou ship. Records from the history of the Xianzhou have her requesting a ceasefire with the Xianzhou Zhu Ming around year 5700 of the star calendar, requesting the ship to change course and assist in attacking the homeworld of the Wing Weavers. Potential threat to the Alliance? Very high. Iron Tomb. Iron Tomb's modus operandi is attacking technologically advanced civilizations. All survivors, without exception, recount the same experience: a complete intellectual collapse. In a flash, inorganic AI legions are paralyzed or turn against their mates. Outer space defense arrays begin targeting the home planet. Flying vehicles scatter at random like flies, unable to target the enemy. Iron Tomb's forte is attacking civilized worlds confident in their technology. Recently, the Xianzhou Yuchui has produced intelligence about Iron Tomb attacking the Baranza Forge. We must guard against his attacks as soon as we can. Potential threat to the Alliance? Very high. Unknown. This overlord's name has not been clearly identified, but they have left behind observational records. Stargazers of the Yuchui once produced 152 consecutive years' worth of observational records about the dead planet Syracuse 3. The Legion crept very slowly towards this front line, building up an advantage, exerting pressure, and chipping away at any resistance. Just like observing an ant colony, they watched their victim experience slow structural collapse. Similar phenomena also occurred during the deaths of Red Babel and the Old Ghoul Ring and others. Speculation rose that behind the scenes lay an overlord with the calm, self-sufficient temperament of a chess grandmaster, pulling the strings of strife as it developed. Potential threat to the Alliance? Very high. Unknown. This overlord's name has not been identified, but they have left behind observational records. Based on IPC records, at least 122 planets were plunged into chaos of an unknown origin over the past 600 years before their ultimate demise at the hands of the Antimatter Legion. Corporation investigators initially leaned toward these being isolated events, but all disaster assessment reports attributed these events to a single cause: spiritual disintegration. The internal conflict of belief systems, the crumbling of spiritual pillars, the collapse of trust within civilizations, and the complete abandonment of all hope. The Yuchui's Divination Commission believed that behind these series of events lurked an unseen Lord Ravager. Potential threat to the Alliance: unknown. Unknown. This overlord's name has not been identified, but they have left behind observational records. The Intelligentsia Guild has provided a light comparison map of the star zone around the Yavanna chain. 1/3 of its stars have been extinguished by some unknown force for nearly 300 years, and it is beyond reason to suggest that this has occurred naturally. The Antimatter Legion roams freely across these worlds shrouded in darkness, raining down destruction upon their eternal nightscape. Survivors from the Yavanna system term this one the Sun Devourer. Potential threat to the Alliance: unknown. Unknown. This overlord's name has not been identified, but they have left behind observational records. Ecologists from the Lo Fu's Realm Keeping Commission once researched a strange world that has completely been converted into antimatter. All antimatter objects hurtle toward their matter counterparts, releasing a destructive dazzle upon impact. Antimatter Legion creations have always had distorted, twisted appearances. When destroyed, many instantly implode with an intense backfire, dragging their enemy along with them to their destruction. Perhaps these strange characteristics is derived from this unnamed overlord? Potential threat to the Alliance: unknown. 2 lines of postscripts are recorded at the bottom of the dossier. The Cloud Knights have been created following Rainbow's edict to fight against abominations, but so many battles were had against the Antimatter Legion since its foundation. In the foreseeable future, the Cloud Knights will inexorably come up against minions of the Rune Author, so adequate preparations should be made soon. Abomination Scroll, the Borisin. List of arch-enemies, Abomination Scroll, contents. Borisins, Wing Weavers, Pohumins, Viscorpi, Heliobi, Cobrakines. Glossary of the Borisin. Category: primates, hominids, canine subspecies. Summary: the Borisin are the oldest nemesis of the Alliance, and the main constituent of the Denizens of Abundance. Their planet of origin remains unknown. However, judging by genetic screen results, the Borisin share a common ancestor with the Foxians, yet the two have diverged onto very different paths. Foxian epics tell how the races were divinely inspired by a Lord of Longevity from beyond the stars. Drinking from the Red Spring, they were granted immortality. But later historical developments saw the Borisin consider the Foxians as slaves or cannon fodder, fueling their desire to conquer the stars. According to verifiable Alliance records, there have been 3 large-scale wars between the Xianzhou and the Borisin, with heavy losses on both sides. Therefore, the Cloud Knights must remain vigilant about the Borisin's movements. Physiology. The Borisin have a distinct canine anatomical structure: broad, slender skeletons, powerful jaws and neck muscles, well-developed fangs, pointed ears atop the skull, and sharp claws on hand and foot. Within the broad classification of long-life species, the Borisin can be said to have the greatest healing ability. Alongside this hyper-healing is their ability to shapeshift, known as Moon Madness by the Borisin. This ability has also been observed very rarely in some Foxians, apart from the Foxians of the Yaoqing. Shapeshifting is accompanied by intense hyperplasia of the bone and muscle structure, such as a protruded snout and jawline, and the twisting in of the foot structure. This damaging deformation process is eventually completely restored by the Borisin's rapid healing ability. During battle, the Borisin emit a pheromone known as lupitoxin, which stimulates fear in the amygdala. To counteract these effects, the Cloud Knights take medicinal pellets to suppress their innate fear when in combat. Technology. The Borisin are particularly skilled at biotechnology and perform various body modifications upon themselves. Borisin armor and weapons both have characteristics of living entities. Their ships are known as mecha beasts or beast ships. These are biological spaceships with the ability to feed, attack, and reproduce. The Borisin's combat vessels for everyday hunting are also known for their rapid velocity. Politics. The Borisin have a tribal council system with many ancient cultural traditions centering around the strong preying on the weak or respect for force. A single tribe is called a pack, and a multi-tribe entity is called a great pack. The Borisin often select the most cunning and strong to lead their pack, the Brood Lord. For a great pack, the leadership selection process forces the competing Brood Lords to fight each other, ranking them from top to bottom based on strength. A great pack leader is called Father Wolf, or War Mutar. 2 lines of postscripts are recorded at the bottom of the dossier. The last War Mutar, Hule, has been interned, and now the new War Mutar is... Anecdotal accounts seem to suggest that it's Ongqing or Lisa, Qingzhu. Abomination Scroll, Heliobi. List of arch-enemies, Abomination Scroll, contents. Borisins, Wing Weavers, Hoyahimans, Viscorpi, Heliobi, Cobrakines. Glossary, the Heliobi. Category, Order, Shapeless, Family, Spirit Essence, Subspecies, Heliobis. Summary. The Heliobi are ancient enemies of the Alliance. They are a rare species among the Abominations of Abundance, belonging to the Order of Shapeless and the race of extraneous demons. Their origin planet remains unknown. As indicated by its biological classification, Heliobi are pure energy entities without a set form. Records from many civilizations have named them the Shapeless or Starfire Essence. The Heliobi love to parasticize others and control bodies of blood and flesh, commonly a humanoid sentient race, experiencing through this the various alterations of the nervous system triggered by emotions. This behavior of emotion consumption satiates the shapeless Heliobi. The host will uncontrollably conduct stimulating behaviors, such as binge eating, impulsiveness, self-mutilation, or destruction, to please the Heliobi within them in exchange for the Heliobi's powerful abilities. The process of Heliobi taming the host's psyche is a process of expending the host's physical body without replenishment. According to the history of the Xianzhou, our contact with the Heliobi can be traced back to the Lone Voyage era before the Xianzhou natives turned into a long-life species. At that time, the 9 Xianzhou ships sailing among the stars came into contact with various outrageous and miraculous life forms, including the Heliobi. This race penetrated the ship's vaults to appear before our ancestors, declaring themselves a shapeless and ruthless race, beseeching Xianzhou to give them a safe birth. The Heliobi are adept at creating mirages and illusions to tempt humans. Thus, humans became addicted to these wondrous creatures of pure energy, and indulged in frolicking with them. But they soon exposed their true colors. The Heliobi tried to take humans' bodies, drain their emotions, and control their will. Such is the so-called possession tragedy, from which the Xianzhou Zhuming suffered the greatest. Thankfully, the Xianzhou artisans ultimately bound the Heliobi within shapeless prisons and sentenced them to provide energy for Xianzhou for all eternity. This lasted until the end of the Flaming Catastrophe War against the denizens of Abundance, when a hero broke the seal binding the Heliobi, made an alliance with them, and relied on their power to defeat the army of Muldrassil. After that campaign, the Heliobi were also severely diminished. Its leaders were once again imprisoned and sealed in the various Xianzhou ships' shackling prisons. It cannot be ascertained whether any remnants may have escaped from the Xianzhou, but no traces of them have been found among the stars since. Note: a small number of academics believe in the legend that the Rainbow Arbiter is none other than this anonymous Xianzhou hero ascended, with the sign of their divinity being the Lux arrow they fired to sever the ambrosial arbor. This myth must not be believed. Physiology. When Heliobi appear, electrical equipment will detect some sort of high-intensity electromagnetic wave emission. As a creature of the Shapeless Order, it can avoid the emission range of visible light and disappear from human sight. However, in order for the host to notice them, they would usually appear as a ball of heatless teal flame. This is also why they are called Starfire Essence. Like how humans push physical objects, individual Heliobi can also alter the energy balance of an area, freely converting energy from one type to another. Through manipulating energy, they can create visual images, make fire or ice, and produce vibration. This made Heliobi appear as gods or demons to primitive civilizations. Based on the size of individual's fire, one can judge the strength of that Heliobis and how much energy it can master. As an individual, Heliobas possesses more and more hosts over time. It would also slowly develop a personality and become distinctly different from its kin. Records in the Ten Lords Commission surmise that this race learns from the host's brain through their parasitism. Technology. The Heliobi have never developed any technology. They have a certain level of repulsion against advanced technical equipment due to their race's ability to manipulate energy. Politics. Though Heliobi are recognized as an abomination of abundance, they rarely appeared as a part of the Denizens of Abundance's legions. On the contrary, they had once allied with the Xianzhou, for a very short duration only. See above for the specific circumstances. It has been at least 6,000 years since the Heliobi were subdued, making it virtually impossible to study their social organization. Some records indicate that individual Heliobis can fuse with each other to create a bigger fire. A few lines of postscripts are recorded at the bottom of the dossier. I heard the Xianzhou Zhu Ming has one of these demons sealed inside. That's right, folks from the Zhu Ming call it Flint Emperor. Actually, doesn't our Artisanship Commission still have prisons like that? Qingzhu. That's pretty dangerous. Well, Zhu Ming residents do love to play with fire. Qingzhu. Abomination Scroll, Wing Weavers. List of arch-enemies, Abomination Scroll, Contents. Borisons, Wing Weavers, Hohimnunins, Viscorpi, Heliobi, Cobrakines. Glossary, Wing Weavers. Category, Species, Primates, Family, Hominids, Subspecies, Feathered. Summary. The Wing Weavers are ancient and established foes of the Alliance, and the main branch of the Denizens of Abundance. Their original planet remains unknown. According to currently available information, Wing Weavers reside in a living tree-shaped world called Muldrassil. Through the outstretched branches of Muldrassil, the armies of the Wing Weavers warp to different worlds to plunder resources and lives. In Wing Weavers' culture, any terrestrial sentient race that cannot fly are called residents of dirt, while the Wing Weavers call themselves the Cloud Lords. They enslave other sentient races, making these races produce resources and maintain their world tree. Based on the fragmented historical records in the history of the Xianzhou, our first contact with the Wing Weavers can be traced back to the primeval Imperium era before the Xianzhou fleet set sail. Winged barbarians arrived from beyond the sky, slaughtered and plundered and conducted evils unaccountable. The sovereign raised armies and annihilated the invaders, imprisoning numerous magicians of the Feathered Ones and obtaining their miraculous recipes. This is the reason the Xianzhou fleet set sail. The sovereign, whose name has been erased from history, dispatched our ancestors to seek immortality from a god in the deep stellar seas. The Wing Weavers invaded the Xianzhou fleet for the second time during the Flaming Catastrophe War. They cast down their branches and almost annihilated the Lo Fu. If the Rainbow's Lux arrow had not arrived and severed the ambrosial arbor, the war would have ended the Lo Fu. The Yu Chui's Divination Commission observed the destruction of Muldrassil at around year 5320 of Star Calendar. The Antimatter Legion destroyed the Wing Weavers' home almost instantly. Since then, many Wing Weavers have become lost wanderers in space, reduced to mercenaries and intergalactic pirates. Physiology. Compared to standard humans, the Wing Weavers' anatomical features are more akin to that of birds. They possess highly developed back muscles, a pair or multiple pair of feathered wings, elongated feet, and powerful toe structures that can push them off the ground. The Wing Weavers are masters of flight, with cruise speeds up to 400 kilometers per hour. Their bones and muscles obtain special vacuoles that allow them to perform rapid dives and astounding bursts of acceleration. Similarly, such structures allow them to fly and move in the vacuum of outer space. They still need to periodically leave vacuum environments to obtain air. Cloud Knights need to be mindful of the following 2 points when fighting Wing Weavers. Be wary of their volleys when fighting from a distance, and suppress their flight and mobility using our advantage in weight and stamina when fighting in melee. Technology. The technology that the Wing Weavers demonstrated in their intergalactic warfare allows us to deduce that their civilization had experienced a great decline. On the one hand, they possess branches that allow them to space warp. On the other hand, their resource supplies and weapon manufacturing are completely reliant on plundering external parties, or on trade with other denizens of abundance. They are found to have been equipped with the weapons and armors of Borison during all 3 Denizens of Abundance wars. Politics. The Wing Weavers allot their positions in Muldrassil strictly according to their social structure. The one residing at the topmost branch is the Master of the Holy Celestine Nest, the Wingperer of the Wing Weavers. Traditionally, he or she is considered an emanator of abundance. They are responsible for guiding Mildresil's growth and making it thrive, and for nurturing all the winged people. Under them are the Sky Defenders, the warrior class, the hymn singers, academics and secretaries, the infant nurturers, the servant class, and the bow pickers, the laborers. Below Mildresil's 5 major castes are the residents of dirt, the lowest of the low, including all sentient races from other worlds that do not possess the ability to fly. As Mildresil has been destroyed, the exact political structures of the Wing Weavers are no longer clear. The IPC's intelligence mentioned that all Wing Weavers scattered throughout the universe now belong to a certain Wing Weavers mercenary company. A few lines of postscripts are recorded at the bottom of the dossier. And what of the relationship between Mildresil and the Ambrosial Arbor? There is no concrete evidence to indicate they are related. According to the speculations of the Yu Chui's Divination Commission, there might be more than one world like Mildresil. Qingzu. The Wing Weaver's Peacock Angel Legion is on the move again. Information remains to be